Welcome to the Nature's Image Farm podcast. We're glad you're here. I'm Greg.
And I'm Susan. And together we're raising 7 kids on the farm and learning life lessons along the way.
So pull up a chair, rest your heels, and let's talk all things bees, homesteading, and the old-time ways.
Let's get after it.
If you're interested in NUCS, packages, queens, or supplies, visit us on the web at nature'simagefarm.com.
Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Nature's Image Farm podcast. Hope you're having a great weekend. It's been crazy busy around here. And I didn't turn my phone off, so you get to hear that twice. I swear we've done this before.
No, only once or twice.
What's a lot of snowy and icy weather all over the place, all over the country. And I'm sure a lot of folks have been busy getting that cleaned up or trying to push through their homestead projects, or maybe even figuring out how to get out there and get the critters fed and watered.
That's right.
Well, we've got a lot of folks joining us tonight. Want to get some shout outs in. We got our friend Tennessee Tim McCandless,
Hey,
Southeast Homestead, Keith Spillman. Good to see you, Keith. Roy Adams from Adams Outdoors. We've got Chris from Drop Tine Farms. We got our pal Randy over at the Trails End Farms. S&J Honey. It's Steve and Jane. S&J Honey. Good to see you guys. Our neighbors here in Hopewell.
Yeah.
Jeff Thomas from West Virginia. Jeff, good to see you in here. Jeff, I hope you can make it out to the Mountaineers Beekeeping Conference here in the spring. We're looking forward to speaking there and seeing everybody and having a good time.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. We got Grandma Terry in the house. Good to see you, Granny. Charlie Vance, West Virginia Hillbilly Honey. Charlie, it's going to be great seeing you at the West Virginia Beekeeping Conference too.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. Tar Heel Beekeeper, Randy, good to see you. Miss Hannah Costello, good to see you in there. We haven't seen her for a little while, have we?
I miss you, Hannah.
I've got our buddy Thomas from Free Range Art Farm. We've got J&D's Bees, good evening. Ina Hatcher, Michelle Irwin, nice to see you. We saw Michelle at the Hive Life Conference. That was pretty cool. We've got Lee from Kodiak Farms, good to see you, Lee. Mark McCaffrey, Hope Sadler, Pappy Richard, good to see you, Pappy. I did a little interview with Pappy Richard. Go check out his YouTube channel, and you can kind of learn more about what it means. What does Be the Lighthouse really mean? So go check out Pappy Richard's YouTube channel and find out. We've got Three Boys Bees, Justin Johnson, a Cajun Homestead and Beekeeping. Good to see you. David Scott Boring, the man, the myth, the legend. Good to see you in there, Scott. Brian Lee, good to see you, Brian. Do you remember Brian and his sons? And they did the
so
trade.
Fun.
Wasn't that fun?
He's got 2 good boys.
That was they did that sticker or that trade thing where you start off with something.
He could start off with a penny something, and then
you just trade up. That was pretty cool. We got our buddy Phil from Cedar Ridge Bees. Michelle. So we have Keith and Michelle Spillman. They must have enough internet so they both can get on. That's pretty cool.
We kicked everybody off ours.
We have our buddy Ian Stepler, the Canadian Beekeepers blog. Beautiful day up here today. Ian, I wonder how much, if you got, I think we were all kind of getting a snow belt that kind of went straight east for the most part.
I saw he's got a good coating.
Yeah. Yep, he sure did. Alan Blanton, good to see you. Greg Dunn, good to see you in here too. We have our buddy Sebastian, all the way from the other side of the ocean, beekeeping and gardening. Good to see you.
Oh, wow.
We've got Terry's got Jeffy in the house too.
Okay.
Curtis Smith.
He must not be asleep yet.
Curtis from Michigan. Good to see you. Mr. Jonathan Bennett, nice to have you in here tonight. And what is this? The one and only, maybe making its first live stream appearance, Honey Money TV. What is Honey Money TV, might you ask? Well, I think you better go over at some point tonight after the live chat and go check out and see what Honey Money TV is all about. I think it's going to blow your socks off.
Nice.
Pretty cool stuff.
Oh, I'm so excited.
We've got our local buddy, Steve Moody from Moody Hives. Good to see you in there, Steve.
Oh, hi, Steve.
We've got Hickory Hives. And let's see. I think we've got everybody caught up. Oh, and we've got Castle Hives, Brian Coper, walls times 3. What on earth is he talking about?
I don't know. So what have you been up to this weekend? I think that's a lead into what we're talking about here.
That's a real good tie-in for what's going on. Well, it's,
What's been going on with
we
you,
have
Greg?
been just busy, hard at it, trying to get the next phase.
Did you say busy as a bee?
I would say busy as a bee, I wish I don't have very good chicken puns. I got to work on that. What would you say? Busy at I don't.
No, let's stop there.
Nothing. Just
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, if you're just tuning into us from the first time, I want to welcome you. Thanks for joining us here at the Nature's Image Farm podcast. If you don't know who we are, my wife Susie and here we have 7 kids that we raise here on the homestead. Beekeeping is our business, and here on the homestead we do everything. We've had the joy and the opportunity to just do all the different things on the homestead: sawmilling and making maple syrup, and raising chickens and goats and ducks and turkeys and pigs and cows and
sheep,
cats, lots of cats,
a dog or 2,
lots and lots of cats,
rabbits,
lots, right? Lots of that.
I think we've tried just about everything.
That's the homesteader's way. You just throw it all against the wall. You see what sticks, you see what resonates with you, and then you kind of just
or at least what you can keep alive.
Dial it in there. Yeah. And so as we've been growing our bee business, one thing that we do here is we offer free hands-on learning for all of our NUCS and package customers. And it's also free for military veterans. It's a way that we can support those that support us. And it's a way that we can serve those that serve our country. And so in doing so, we had a supply shop that we kind of put together so we can sell wax tipped equipment and premier frames and foundation and a lot of just the beekeeping basic supplies. And then we kind of meet every other Saturday, and we'll talk about bees and whatever's happening currently out in the bee yards, in our local area. And then we'll take that information and go right out to the bee yard and learn hands-on all together.
Yeah.
And it's a fun way where we can just kind of learn bees together, grow the community. It's just a really fun way, and it's a little bit different of an approach when it comes to this kind of community style beekeeping. You've heard of community-supported agriculture. You've heard of community gardens. This is kind of the same thing. And so we've kind of grown a little faster than we thought we would. And so we've been busy on phase 2, which is putting a much bigger supply shop and classroom together.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know if this is probably not the place to probably do it. But we have been busy getting phase 2. They probably can't see this. This is probably going to be annoying.
This is.
But
okay. That's okay. That's not bad. Well, there's the ring light.
Well,
so
I'm not good at this. Well, we've got phase 2 dried in and framed in, and we've been busy building walls. We've got the final front walls and the man door and the bay door and the kind of the separator between the warehouse and the shops all kind of set up. So big thanks to Jeff. And we've got Brian was out helping today. And of course, Izzy and Jake were out just working as a team, kind of getting that done. So we've been out in the sleet and the snow all day.
And why would you have done it on a weekend like this weekend that was so cold? What temperature did you look at? Did you look at a forecast different than what it was supposed to be?
Well, so I was down in Charlotte earlier this week, Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was thinking, man, I really need to get this wall knocked out. And let me check the weather, make sure everything is going to be cool.
Yep.
And it was saying like 54 degrees, 57 degrees. And
He's
I thought,
like,
this is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
We'll get out there. Weather's going to be great. And that was one of those, because I was looking at Charlotte's weather.
And I'm thinking, wow, he
Ohio
is
weather.
really wanting to really do some cold winter work.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, we're going to get all this done. We're going to get so much done. And I'm thinking, you're going to be exhausted in like a few hours of trying to work in this cold weather, but okay.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, so we made a material run. And as I'm driving back, I'm thinking, man, it's getting cold pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then we stopped at Menards and loaded up on 2x6s and all the things that we needed to do, what we needed to do. And then I checked the weather. I'm thinking, oh man, it's like supposed to be in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, not
Fahrenheit.
as nice as you wanted it to be.
So yeah, so totally wrong forecast. But as anyone, all of you out here listening, you're either living on a homestead, or you're doing some things in the backyard. You know how this goes. Maybe you're on a farm. There's never enough time, and you have to take advantage of the time when you have it, whatever that it looks like.
That's true.
And if it was nicer out, I'd want to be going through bees and checking up on this and checking on that. So
that's true.
You have to take advantage of the time that you have. So that's what we did as we got that knocked out, and we were getting so close to really getting that where we need to be for April. So it's one of those things where if you live this kind of lifestyle, you know that you push, you dig, and then sometimes you'll notice like you'll get it done like one day before go time, and you tell yourself, oh my gosh, if I didn't push hard and dig in on that through the ice and the snow and all this kind of things, we wouldn't have got this done. So today was one of those days where we could have just maybe decided to edit some videos or stay, do some, inside type stuff. But no, we decided to go out there and just get that done, take advantage of the time. And
well, you did. I stayed inside with the rest of the kids.
What were you up to today, Susie?
Well, let's see. We've got a couple loaves of bread baked. The whole wheat bread is in finishing baking right now. So
Smells
smell
good,
that.
doesn't it?
Yeah. And we got, we're just working on paperwork and getting the house together back in order for homeschooling, which we continue even when we're disorganized, just not as efficiently as when we're organized. So, just lots of paperwork for businesses and, all the like really boring stuff that Greg doesn't like to do. He likes to be outside, and I'm the one that has to keep everything on the inside up and going. So yeah, just boring stuff, really. I mean, it's nothing that is fun. And I kept everybody fed. So
and alive.
Hot coffee.
That's worth an awful lot.
Hot coffee. We did chili last night. We did a nice roast tonight and sweet potatoes. So that was
nice
yummy.
Beef roast, and I think that was from those that are the Dexter cows that we still had some of that left.
A little
somehow.
bit left. Yeah, I know it's like weird because it just gets lost in freezer space, but it was really well kept. So the vacuum sealing worked on those. Now it doesn't work every time, but that was nice to have. It's always nice to have beef in the freezer. So
you've been busy in the kitchen and keeping everyone happy here at the house, and we've been out at the farm just getting it done. And got a shout out to both Drop Time Chris and Roy Adams. Their hammers were lonely, it sounds like. Guys,
there's way more to do.
It's right. I am saving my phone a friend card.
Are you going to save your phone a friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm going to save that for a little bit later. We're going to big exciting news. I finally decided to. That's a whole long story, but when we get into the rest of this year, we're going to talk about some sawmilling and things like that too.
Well, that's not the topic for tonight.
No, it's not. So. But when we start getting those logs sawed up, so we can use that siding inside of the shop and out front, there's going to be a whole lot of rough cut to put up. So Roy and Chris, believe me, your hammers will get a workout.
Oh yeah. Depending on what you're trying to hammer through, they'll get a real workout. So will your arm.
We got a couple other folks checking in. We've got our buddy Rob Pollock at LaRobbie's. We've got Lisa Gowan, Grammy's Midwife Suburban Homestead, Jimmy Warmer. Let's see. And Flower Street Farm Bees. Thanks for tuning in. I love that everyone can take a little time and just kind of hang out with us today. Have you been paying attention to current events?
If you haven't, if you've just at least gone to the grocery store in the last month or so, I would think you would know what we're going to talk about.
I don't think even if you want to hide out on the homestead and totally stay away from the news channels, which is totally me. Usually when I see the news, it's someone sharing a Facebook post or someone will say, hey, did you see this? Because they know I don't watch the news. I don't care to watch the news. And so I usually get my most up-to-date information from people, kind of like the old time days. But if you've noticed, everything is starting to go through the roof. It's already been, the prices on everything have been going up. Yeah. But recently, chicken and eggs have just absolutely skyrocketed.
Chicken eggs.
Yeah.
Chicken hasn't gone too high comparatively speaking to what it was in the last year, but grocery shopping wise, don't refer to Greg's pricing points because he doesn't grocery shop. So,
well, last week we went on the stream. I did decide to, maybe I would go to the store with you on that one. Wow. I'm never doing that again.
well, you
Going
went to
to a store
Costco. That
on a
doesn't count.
Sunday.
That is actually, that's nowhere close to like an Aldi's or a Walmart.
Mm-mm.
So
yeah,
there's
that's
that.
not doing it. But if you've been to the store, or if not, and you're the kind of guy that stays home and your wife handles that and takes care of it, then that's awesome. And I'm sure you've heard, oh my gosh, the prices are going through the roof. Well, what's challenging is when egg prices go through the roof during the winter time on the homestead and farm, you start to feel that for sure.
Yeah, it's making everything feel a little bit more pinched because in the winter we do a lot more with eggs. And that's when our chickens are either not laying at all or laying very little until several months after solstice. So that becomes challenging. You know, who doesn't want that delicious egg casserole bake or breakfast bake or scrambled eggs and, you know, whatever in the morning on a cold winter morning? It's good to have. What was that for?
I don't know. Wrong button.
I was like, that wasn't very nice. I was talking.
That was good. I was trying to do the one where it sounded all dreamy. You know, this one.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
I've
52 million chickens were killed due to the bird flu.
So Thomas at Free Range Art Farm.
Okay, that explains the prices of eggs. Yes.
Right. And I have promised Susie that because I'm trying to keep my headphones on, that I don't have room for my headphones and my tinfoil hat. But a lot of you homesteaders are also fellow conspiracy theorists, and we'll avoid going down that rabbit hole tonight. But you know, the whole the stability of the entire industrial food system is not it's not a news flash that there are a lot of challenges and a lot of things going on, and there always has been. But it seems like we're in a situation now where these things keep coming up and up and up and up and up. And so what can we do on the homestead to the ultimate goal? And let's two definitions that I think we'll go ahead and clear up right off the cut is we all want to be self-sufficient. But self-sufficiency is one of those pie in the sky dreams that to be truly 100% self-sufficient is extremely difficult. And I mean, let's just say in the fact of raising chickens. If you can brood your own eggs, if you can make your own chickens, if you can somehow grow and raise all of your feed and all of your components, and where you don't have to leave or bring inputs in, okay, that is true self-sufficiency. But I think what a lot of us are more focused on is resiliency, homestead resiliency, whether that's with our livestock, whether that's in our bee yards, whether that's in our business. We're looking for ways to be resilient so that we can weather these storms when they come, whether it's literally a storm coming and knocking over 70 or 100 or 200 colonies of bees, whether it's foxes coming and eating all of our chickens, whether it's the food system throwing a wrench in our budget or availability. We're always trying to find ways to where we can build homestead resiliency. So there's a difference. So homestead resiliency and homestead self-sufficiency, two different things.
Yeah.
And they are very, very important, which I think is kind of what gets a lot of folks into homesteading, because there's a lot of just amazing opportunities to not only live life, love life, but get in tune with a lot of long lost arts of living a simple, beautiful life.
Well, and I think it also is, as far as the way I look at it is, yes, resiliency is wonderful and self-sufficiency is wonderful. But I also think as a homeschooling mother of 7 that it teaches a lot of responsibility, and we work that into our education.
Yeah.
So our children are learning those skills firsthand that even their grandparents didn't have or don't have. And maybe even a little bit of their great grandparents. Even though my grandmother, their great grandmother lived in the middle of the city. She, her mother canned. They never kept livestock though. So, she didn't grow up with chickens in the backyard. So, I mean, it's something that you can teach your children how to do. And then if they choose to keep that going, then that's great. And if not, then they've just, learned a responsibility, learned how to take care of something other than themselves.
That's one of the great things about, when we pair and couple homesteading and homeschooling and our style of living, everything is a teachable moment. Everything can be a life lesson. And so when we can tune and shape our every day to day around that, it creates incredible opportunities, for the kids, where we've got kids that get up on their own, and they run out, they open up the birds, they close the birds, they gather eggs, they take care of chicken bedding and chicken chores and things like that. And we're going to get into all that on tonight's live chat. But when we talk about why even think about getting into raising your own flock, I mean, how hard can it be? Just a bunch of chickens. They're going to make their own eggs. They're going to be out there doing their own. Nope. There is an awful lot to it. And raising chickens may or may not be for you. So tonight, what we want to do is kind of talk a little bit about why. We've covered that a little bit. Get into kind of the actual homestead, the realistic expectations, the pros and the cons of raising chickens, but
Right.
also what could you expect? What kind of opportunities are there? And maybe this is a good fit for you. Susie, you've been raising chickens for.
I raised chickens as a kid.
Yeah.
For a little while when we lived on a farm. And so I had some experience that you didn't have growing up only in the city. But we've been raising chickens for almost 10 years now, 10 or 11 years now, just with our children. So I have some of the very first pictures breaking all HOA rules by having chickens in our backyard in the city. So, yeah, I raised chickens as a kid too, though. So I enjoy them. I think they have lots of value outside of the eggs you would get or the meat you may harvest.
We've been keeping it contrary for quite a long time, not in the sense to be intentionally contrarians, but we're the type of folks where we know that we're living our life and we want to live life to its fullest. And that means a lot of the times going against the grain, swimming upstream. And we're the ones that feel like this is for us to do, to teach our kids and to set that example.
Yeah.
And so, chickens are just a part of the whole entire thing. But you've been raising chickens for your entire life. For the most part, we've been raising chickens as a family for 10 years. I can remember before we really got out to a bigger piece of land, when we had the land secured before we were coming out here, we ordered our chicks, we ordered our ducks, and there's probably pictures out there where we have ducks swimming in our sink.
We do in the bathtub.
In the bathtub,
they put them in the bathtub.
We were raising chickens and ducks in our garage in an HOA subdivision.
Yeah,
that was special.
We did let the kids down the street in the neighborhood see them, though. They thought that was pretty cool, and I think it gave people a glimpse into what might happen later on in our family. So that was pretty cool. Our kids really enjoyed it then, and still do. I mean, probably the chore part, not as much as like, oh yeah, it's a cute little chicken. But they all have their own. We get to rotate chores, so not everybody has chicken chores all the time.
Right. Yep.
So.
We switch. We switch the chores out.
Yeah.
So everything kind of stays fresh and everyone gets a turn at that. But no matter who it is, everybody loves to hear that little chirpy box of little fuzzy chicks that are just so adorable. And then
if you bring them home in a box, that's not the only way to do it. But yeah.
And let's what do you think? What do you say we get into this? What raising chickens for eggs?
How hard can it be?
How hard can it really be? Well, homesteaders are just the type to dig in and just figure it out themselves. A lot of us are hard-headed and stubborn. So tonight we just want to share with you kind of some hard lessons learned, share with you the pros and the cons of our experience raising chickens and what that may or may not mean for you.
So let's cut right to it. Price. Because here in America, we look at price and it's smart. Smart to look at the price of things. It's smart to be cognizant of the fact that you're spending your money and where you're spending it and how you're spending it. So Why in the world would you buy chickens instead of just buying eggs from the grocery store? Why? What the price? Okay. So, but is the price really cheaper if you buy them and keep them and raise them?
Well, we'd have to get into a conversation about how commercial chickens are raised, what their feed is, what kind of life that they live. I mean, if you are what you eat, that goes all the way back to those chickens. You know, a lot of these chickens from the eggs at the grocery store, they're raised in confinement barns. They never see daylight. They're fed a very specific feed, and they do make eggs, and the eggs do have nutrition, and there it is a product. But I think if we actually look at the nutritional density of an egg, when you compare an egg, um,
Just like a grocery
just a
store egg.
grocery store egg with a farm raised egg, they not only do they look completely different, but they taste completely different.
Yeah. So, if you're looking at it from price point, yes, commercially raised eggs are going to be cheaper. If you do more of the free range or organic, I don't know how they say that, but anyway, organic egg, or let's just say eggs from the farmer's market or a local farmer that you know, those are going to be more expensive. If they're not, then shame on them. They need to be asking the price that it costs to raise those hens and feed them appropriately. $2 a carton, even when eggs were 99 cents, was too cheap. And they should be more expensive. They're putting more work in. They're not on a commercial industrial farm where they're cranking them out and never seeing the light of day. They should be more expensive. So if you're asking your farmer to make them cheaper, shame on you.
Well, there's a lot of I don't want to say misunderstandings or misinformation out there, but if we just go back all the way to a lot of things in life have to do with price. The economics of food, the economics of everything are one of the driving forces for just about every single market.
Right.
Within that, we get into variables and such where it's quality and it's fast, how fast you can get something, the quality of it. But when we're talking about grocery store eggs, we eat them all the time. If you go run through McDonald's and get a sandwich for breakfast sandwich, it's going to be on there. If you go to Cracker Barrel or Denny's and get an egg, it's very likely going to be one of those. So are those absolutely terrible for you? Well, that's a conversation for a different day. Are they as healthy and are they as tasty than an egg from a chicken that you're raising free range in the backyard, who they're foraging, they're going through the grass and the weeds and even the forest floor and getting all kinds of goodies and nutrients and macronutrients and vitamins and the essence of the ground that you actually live on? No. That's a special thing that just bear for 1 second. Bear with me here. Okay, we live on a homestead here, right? We're surrounded. We live on a hillside. It's heavily forested. The farm does have some open areas and a pond and things like that. But I want you to think about if you are living this kind of a life, right? Your hands in the soil. You are what you eat. Everything of the trees and the soil and the flower and the bees, that not only makes up our quality of life and our purpose, but the food that we're raising and harvesting from the soil is a part of who we are. It's a part of our health. When we can raise animals, and especially chickens, on the soil that we're living in, those chickens are living in our exact context. The sun is rising, the sun is falling, we're seeing the same stars, we're under the same tree canopies, we have the same soil, the same bugs, the same flowers, the same breeze. To me, that is a very beautiful thing. And so when we can raise animals in this context on the same soil that we're working, that's a beautiful thing. And so when we can harvest a product like an egg from a chicken in that system, that is a really cool thing. But we're also getting we're actually getting a taste of the land. We are eating and we have provision right off the land in the most intimate way possible. And to me, that's beautiful, whether it's a chicken, whether it's a hog or a cow, or even our bees. When their life form and essence has a yield, and that yield is important to us and is impacting our way of life and quality of life and health, that's a beautiful thing.
Yes. And I have read studies where when they test, commercially grocery store eggs versus like your homestead eggs on your counter. You can keep them on the counter. Yes, I did see somebody post that or comment about that. You can't keep grocery store eggs out. You have to keep them refrigerated. But if they come straight from your coop, you keep that bloom on and you can keep them on your countertop. But they do have higher A, D, and E and omega-3 fatty acids. And that in and of itself is like extra vitamins for free. So instead of buying the, vitamins at the grocery store because you're lacking in those areas, you could eat your farm fresh eggs.
And let's face it, would you rather have in the comments here, I want you to comment, drop us a comment, and I want you to post a comment and just say warm butt nugget. If you have literally had an egg that you just pulled from the chickens that is still warm, especially on a cold day.
That's so weird to say that. Why do you say butt nuggets? That's so gross.
I mean,
don't say it like that.
That's what it is. Versus,
it sounds like poop.
Yeah. So Grammy knows, Lisa knows what's up.
Yes.
So that compared to an egg that you went to Walmart to get.
Yeah,
that
I know.
was what harvested from a chicken 30 days ago
or more
in a life, in an essence, in a food system that is completely different. I mean, we are talking about two different things. Totally.
You're right. I mean, the health benefits.
See, look at all the comments here. See, everyone knows what's up on the warm butt nuggets. That's just what it is.
Yeah. And I tell you what, they keep your hands warm on the way down from the coop. So there's that.
That is,
at least in my case,
literally,
it's cold out.
That's farm fresh.
That's
from the field to the table.
I should have brought I forgot my egg carton. My egg carton that my mom got me a long time ago says,
that's right. What does it say?
Butt nuggets for breakfast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something. I don't know. Whatever.
You're even using the butt nut.
No, I did not. This was a label thing. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, it's cute.
Well, that's so there's a lot of outside of the romantical ideas of a homestead and raising animals. There is just so many nutritional benefits to doing that. Now, that doesn't come without expense, though, does it?
No, but on the why, we covered the price. We've covered the health benefits. You're covering working towards resiliency. The rewards of giving, maybe showing your own kids responsibility or yourself. You do have to have a schedule, opening and closing, and keeping, your flock. But compared to almost any other outside large kind of livestock, they're pretty low impact, meaning that there's not a huge amount of risk and or infrastructure having to be built like you would for some other animals you may want to dive into when you go. Although, that chicken math will get you. So it could be as expensive as buying, that bred cow.
Oh, we should have put a disclaimer before we even started. Warning, go across a disclaimer.
Chicken math.
Okay, warning. Chickens are 100% the gateway drug on the homestead. One day, it's just a couple chicks from TSE. The next day, it's goats on the roof, literally. It's a thing. Yeah. And I know a lot of you know all about that. I don't know that we're getting to a whole lot of goat conversation anymore, but I will tell you this. I've only found one type of fencing system that will hold in a goat, and that's a freezer door.
That's wrong. You shouldn't have said that.
Hey, but that was funny. See?
I know a couple of those buttons and I'm willing to press them.
So what are some of we can talk all night and wax philosophically about the benefits and why folks should think about getting into chickens, but what are some of the realistic risks and cons of raising chickens? What are some things to be aware of?
Yeah. So I'm the cup half empty. So I could think of 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do it. They're expensive. So you're not just buying a chicken and then all of a sudden you get eggs and it's like, this, Disney movie kind of thing where they're just great and fun to look at. They need infrastructure and you need to keep them safe and fed and watered and, we can go into
Alive.
alive.
In general.
So they can be expensive. So if you get them off to a good start, usually they're kind of hands off. As far as, all day, every day, you have to babysit them or anything. They are a whole heck of a lot easier to raise from chicks than, let's say, turkeys.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh,
should we
so
throw
dumb.
off that trick? We should just throw that.
No, we were so dumb. Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyway, don't buy 20 heritage turkeys and then expect them all to live the first year.
Turkeys are some of the, and I mean this respectfully to all of the God's great creatures, but turkeys are some of the most stupidest critters that I've ever had the pleasure.
There are a lot of smarter animals out there.
I shouldn't have been so mean. I feel like I was a little too mean on the turkeys. They're just intelligence lacking, head bobbing. I'll drown and die in every possible
I will die
way,
with my head in the
form.
feed. I will die with my head in the water. I will die because I want to die. I'll die because I'm just standing there staring at the wall. I will die because I just don't have any will to live. If you get turkeys and you've never raised them, raise them with chicks.
That's a pro tip. If you're going to raise turkeys, order chicks or get
and
chicks
you'll
at the
hear
same exact
You'll hear
time.
all the I don't do that because they can carry disease. Just keep them healthy. Yeah. Be smart about, not, changing out their water and doing all that. But please don't raise them by themselves. They're not smart enough to live.
No, but they are good at mimicking. And they can mimic dumb and they can mimic smart.
Yeah, so they're all dumb. If you put a pack of dumb together, you're going to get dumb.
Just dumb-dumbs. But if you put some chicks in there, the chicks go right to town and eat and drink on their own, no problem. The turkey poults will see that and then go to town. And next thing you know, it was a whole different ballgame. And then you won't waste
$200 on turkeys that you never got to harvest and eat. So there's that.
I sort of forgot about that.
I'm not negative at all. I'm not bitter at all about that.
Not bitter. Not at all. Not bitter at all on the turkeys.
I learned my lesson. I'll never do that again. So expensive, yes, eggs are expensive at the grocery store. Don't buy them at the grocery store. Support a farmer if you don't want to get chickens. But if you do want to get chickens, know that a coop doesn't build itself. It doesn't just magically appear because you buy chicks from Rural King or Tractor Supply. You need a coop, you need waterers, you need feeders, and you need feed, which is not cheap. Even the cheapest not GMO food is expensive. The non-GMO, organic, whatever you're going to use food is very expensive, $20 to $30 a bag where we are. And I'm sure it's more expensive in our, that's just in our local area. So depending on where you live, it could be way more than that. So that expense, they're not cheap. And they do need some, if feeders break or whatever, those startup fees will get you, but that will with any animal. You don't just go buy a rabbit and then not have a hutch or whatever. So I can think of expense.
There's a lot of expenses and there's a little bit of a learning curve, but when you go all the way back to, let's say the easiest way to raise more chicks is once you have experience, and you have some hens that go broody, and they lay eggs and they sit on them and they raise their own. Those are hands down the best because they don't need you. You just check in a little bit, make sure everyone's getting in and out of the coop okay, if they've got food and water. But mama hen takes care of all the babies. The babies grow up and they keep doing that thing over. It's like when we were breeding, always breeding the best queens, and we're always moving those genetics forward. The same thing happens naturally, even with the chicken flock. Because
and you can get an incubator and do the same thing with farm fresh eggs. If you have a friend that has chickens and you would like to start with incubated eggs, there's plenty of YouTube University videos on how to start those things and do those things to save some money. Because chicks in and of themselves, buying them from mail order and or your local feed supply stores, they can be pricey. But just know that buying chicks and then thinking that all of a sudden you're going to have cheap eggs, it's just not how it's going to work.
For folks who haven't ordered chicks yet, and they haven't had that experience of setting up a brooder, why don't you run folks through what that looks like? If you're going through the catalogs or the online websites and ordering chicks, what does that look like? What can they expect? And then how do folks get those chicks off to a good start?
Well, if you're going to go like mail order route, just know that you can't just buy like one of each. And they usually have a minimum. So some places have a minimum of, let's say 20. They won't ship less than 20. Your local farm stores usually have like a minimum of 6 if you're going to go in and buy them. But mail order, you're going to need to buy a higher volume. They also get cheaper as you buy more. And just know that you have to account for some loss. Like with any other thing, you might lose some in the first days or weeks of having them. As far as looking at your varieties and such, we've done all kinds of varieties, and they all are great. If you're going for volume, there are chickens that lay way more eggs than others. So you do want to look at that when you're flipping through those catalogs and or online. Brown versus white, never found a difference. It's just preference. We have Easter eggers that are blue and green, and they're beautiful. There are chickens that will end up laying pinkish eggs, brown eggs, white eggs, you name it. So get what you like, get what you want to look at, get what you want to see every day.
Or ask another homesteader, what have you had, good luck with? Have there been, I don't know that we've had necessarily bad luck with any breed of chicken, but I think some of them are maybe a little bit better layers. Some of them maybe are a little bit better as far as being broody and taking care of chicks.
All those analytics are there on the websites and stuff. They'll say number of eggs, approximate number of eggs, approximate, are they more tendent to be broody versus never laying on an egg? If you're not looking for that, don't worry about it. And so that all those things are usually on the websites. They're really good about that.
The characteristics and those kind of things. Yeah.
What the chicks look like versus how they grow up to look when they're older.
But sometimes when you order chicks on a catalog or through a catalog, or did I say catalog twice? Online, a catalog, or even if you go into your TSC or Rural King or local feed store to get chicks, a lot of times you're going to be unpleasantly surprised that you might have half and half that might be mixed. You might have half end up being roosters and half being hens. And if this is your first time learning about chickens and eggs, we're going to, we don't probably need to have the birds and the bees talk. You see what I did there?
That was funny.
I thought that was funnier. Well, so of course, the roosters, they're there to fertilize the eggs. And the hens, the girl roosters are there laying the eggs.
Oh, no, there's not girl roosters. So there you go. He's wrong.
Did I say girl roosters?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If a chicken lays an egg on the ground floor of the barn and it hatches, what is it?
A chicken?
Okay. If a chicken,
Where are you going with this?
if a hen lays an egg on the second floor of the barn and it hatches, what is it?
A chicken?
If a rooster lays an egg on the roof of the barn and sits on it and it hatches, what is it?
A rooster doesn't lay an egg.
Ah, daggone, it was so close.
I knew you were going to try to get me on that. That's why I was listening really hard.
So sometimes you end up getting a bunch of extra roosters. And what do you do with them? Well, they're not laying any eggs. And you only need, we really only need to have 1 to 2 roosters for every 15 hens or so.
Just watch, because I think mostly you need to think about if they're going to free range, you need them for protection. Roosters are good at protecting. Some of them are not.
Right.
And so if you do not have protective roosters for your hens, get rid of them. You're feeding them for nothing.
Yep.
Fertilized eggs, a rooster only has to fertilize the hen every 30 days. So there's that. And if you're never going to incubate your eggs or let your chickens go broody, you don't need a rooster at all. They still lay eggs without a rooster.
Now if you are going to pick up chicks at the local feed store,
yeah.
Do you want to tell folks your super secret?
I don't know if it's a super secret. So I hate to share that and then everybody be like, wah, wah. No, Susan, you're so wrong. It may work. It may not. I don't know. I'm not going to tell the secret because I don't know if it really works.
That doesn't seem very nice.
Well, I don't think it's real. I mean, like it's not proven 100%
let's
or
just say
anything.
one of the.
I don't want to let anybody
How
down.
about wives' tales? How about call it a wives' tale and throw it out there?
Okay, so supposedly the old wives' tale is if you spread out the chicken's wing, stay with me here. If you spread out the chicken's wing, and these are on chicks, you will look, and the very first, like I'm trying to.
Your microphone's in the way.
Discombobulated.
There you
here.
go.
So let's say the wings are, they kind of go like down in a nice pattern of like
The
straightness.
feathers.
The feathers go down. The ones that are roosters, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
The roosters have the ones that stick out way further at the very tip of closest to their head. Okay. So their feathers are going to be real jagged out front and then taper off. But the hens have a real nice,
more uniform,
contoured, uniform line. So that's supposedly the trick. You pull their wing out and look at that and see if there's all kinds of jagged. Then you just put that little thing back and go for the next one.
That's how we sexed the chickens when we would buy them, and I want to say it's probably like 90. It's worked like 90% of the time.
Well, here's the only problem.
What?
We did that last year, and then I had some predation, and I really didn't end up getting a lot of eggs from those chickens that we did that with. So I can't say because a fox ate all my hens. So
well, let's get into some of the cons and some of the risks. You have the initial expense, of course, buying the chicks and the chick starter and the feed. You're going to have watering systems. As the season,
if you're starting with chicks, you need a brooder too.
As the season progresses, we'll talk more about that, what that kind of looks like. We've got a lot of really neat homestead hacks, ways that we can gravity feed, have fresh water at all times, feed, and it creates a less hands-on all the time for those little things, and it helps build a little bit more time buffer and resilience with the critters. But you get them, you bring them home, or they get shipped to you. First thing you have to do is you have to get them into a brooder. You want to talk to them a little bit about what a brooder is and kind of what one of your favorite brooder setups is.
Well, we've had all kinds, and when we were in the city, we didn't have any kind of trough waterers sitting around like we do now. So we were using extra large totes like you would move with or store your Christmas
big
tree
plastic
in.
tubs.
Yeah. And we used those. We did put them in our house, which please don't do that. If you're gonna raise chicks, it was gross. It was dander and dust everywhere from the bedding.
Chickens are messy.
Oh, they're so messy. And they grow from chick to not chick, even though they're still a chick. They go from chick, oh, so cute, they're peep, 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 all through the night. And then all of a sudden they're wanting to jump out of the box and they're running around your house pooping, and the bedding starts to smell like every single day. And then every half of the, within half of the day, they smell. Lots of bedding. So now what we do, we don't have a heated garage, or, if you have a garage outside, but attached to your house or something, this might work in that a little better than what we have, but we don't have anything like that. So we put a large, what would you say that is? How many gallons?
Oh, probably maybe 100. Yeah. We have a couple different sizes, but we use big water troughs that you see at the feed store, the big galvanized tubs.
Yeah, it depends on how many chicks you're getting.
I think the one that you like the most is probably about 150 gallon.
I want to say so. So anyway, we use that, and that is what we use from the day one chick to feathered out. And it's a really nice setup because we have just this framed graded top that we put on it, so it can control airflow. They get enough air, but we actually can put a piece of what is that plastic thing?
Well, we have the galvanized big stock tank.
Yes.
And then we've got red heat lamps to keep their temperature at 95 degrees.
Yeah.
And then we can even do that in the dead of winter when it's really, really cold.
Yes.
And we'll kind of close the top off a little bit. It's like a corrugated, it's a perforated plexiglass.
Okay. So that holds the heat in. So if you're having to do this in the winter, which I highly suggest not to raise chicks in the winter.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
It's not ideal. We have done it in the past because Susan's impatient. But if you're not ready to put your transplants in the ground, you probably shouldn't have chicks trying to get on the ground
it's
either.
It's a little riskier. Something
At least
happens
in Ohio. This is my context. So do what you want. It's your rodeo.
That's true.
But
That's what we do in Ohio for sure.
In Ohio, it's not ideal. You have a higher loss. You're having to heat them a lot more, and the red lamps are not cheap to heat. I mean, it's like,
and they can be they can be fire hazard too.
So yeah, a lot of people burn down their barns with red lamps, heat
there
lamps.
Are some catalytic ones and some ceramic ones, and ones that are they say are as effective but don't have the fire risk. So you can maybe look into that. But those birds need to have
hot
95 degrees,
like underneath their mom's butt.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. They're gonna hide underneath their mom's butt, and if it's getting cool at night or cold or freezing, they will freeze
until they feather out. And then once they start to feather out, they can.
But that can be 4 to 5 weeks of keeping a heat lamp inside of this tank with bedding, which is pine, so it's flammable.
Right.
You need to keep constant water and constant feed, and they can't do without water. They can do without feed overnight, so you don't have to wake up like an infant and feed them at night. But
got to have water.
Yeah, that's a constant. Clean every water. Single day. So those are the beginnings of what you're going to get. Even if you get them from the post office, you get them shipped to you and you're picking them up from the post office, so they're not going to bring them to your doorstep usually. Right. So you have to go and pick them up from the post office.
The biggest things to look forward to about raising chicks is poop. Everywhere.
I look forward to it because everywhere. It's great for chicken the poop. Compost pile.
It's fantastic fertilizer. It's great to put in the compost
in the
pile.
Bedding and go from the bedding to the garden.
They will find ways to poop in the water and poop in not so much in the feed, but
they'll poop in anything.
They'll just absolutely everything. And bird grease is just some of the foulest thing.
It's not quite as bad as turkey, but it's bad and it's gross. And I've had chickens on my front doorstep looking in my windows. Especially turkeys are really obnoxious for that.
I just want to make sure I say that again, that, chicken poop is one of the most foul things.
Oh, you did get the pun in. Okay. Yeah.
Well, so there's that. Okay. So you buy the chickens, you figure out what types and varieties you like. Hopefully you don't get a bunch of roosters.
Yeah.
You get them started off into a brooder where the temperature is warm and they have fresh food and water all the time.
Yep.
And then they poop and they poop and they grow and they get big and they poop a lot more.
Yeah.
And they keep growing and they poop and they just.
And then when they're fully feathered out, you can transition them from this brooder situation where it's nice and warm, and slowly you transition that heat lamp away and they're fully feathered and you get to put them in their big girl coop. And that is something that is another expense. It's going to probably have a different water situation than you started with when they're chicks. So you're going to have probably that transition waterer where you have a different size. Sometimes not. But
we've had a lot of different types of coops over the years. I think I've got my favorites, and I bet you have yours too. Coops can be as expensive as you want to spend. I mean, thousands of dollars on coops to hold 6 birds. You can totally spend that kind of money.
They can have a McMansion.
They can. Oh, that's good. McMansion. I like that.
Hey, I'm here all day.
There can be the McMansion. It can be a corner of a garage. It could be a doghouse, a cat. There could be a ton of different things. But some of the main components to consider on a coop, whether you're buying a coop or you're building a coop, is birds like to roost. They like to get up off of the ground. Is one of the big things. It gives them a place to feel secure at nighttime. They'll get up on their roost. And they'll just hang out, cruise, sleep, rest up, to kind of do their thing. And they like to get up as high as they can. They love to do that. That's one thing to keep in mind when you're building a coop or buying one, is make sure there's plenty of roost bars or add some, because that's something that they really do prefer, it seems.
And they're totally buildable. Like you can do your own.
Oh, I think we'll talk about that. We've built a lot of very unique types of coops that I think
You
are
don't
more
have
my
to.
favorite.
I feel like Tractor Supply sells you the ones that they get a commission on or something, because I've heard them actually. I've actually heard them talking.
They look so cute.
I just sold that $450 one, and I'm
they
like,
look so cute, and they've got all the windows, and they've got all this, that.
what in the
But
world?
they're made out of like Chinesium and who knows what, and they fall apart and they rot, and they weigh about 3 pounds, and the wind blows them over, and they're problematic. But it gets people into raising chickens sometimes. So I think there is some value to it.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite coop was, we took a Harbor Freight trailer. It was a 6 foot wide by 8 foot trailer. It wasn't worth a darn for a trailer.
It was no
and it
longer
just sat there.
roadworthy.
It wasn't. Yeah. And so what I did is I just built a single sloped roof structure.
She converted her kid's old playhouse into it. Awesome.
Good
job, Michelle.
You can totally do it any which way you want. We took that old trailer and we built the coop up, and that way we could actually move our chickens coop throughout the homestead, so they weren't wearing out the same piece of ground over and over and over again. We could move it around. They could fertilize things, have a little bit more variety to kind of eat. And so most of our style of chickens, for the most part, is something that we call day range, where they are in a secure night coop.
Yeah.
And in the mornings, we open them up and they free range the property.
Yeah.
And that night, they're trained to go back into their coop. We close them up and we lock them, and everything's great, unless someone forgets to close them up at night. And then it is just a 4-star buffet for every raccoon or fox, or you name it.
Yeah.
Skunks and possums will get in there and try to rob eggs too. So there's always that kind of an issue. But
predation is hard on
when they're out
day
able
range.
to free range, and I like that. But it definitely comes with a great risk.
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of open pasture and open field and things where they're more prone and vulnerable to aerial attacks, they can get just absolutely destroyed by hawks quickly.
Swooped up.
There's totally, and that's a real problem. It can be a real threat too. A lot of folks will mitigate that different ways, with maybe livestock guardian dogs or fake owls or this or that or the other. There's lots of ways to do it, but it's definitely a risk.
I saw a really funny. Okay, so I'm probably on some chicken stuff, I don't know, on socials, and I saw a really fun one where somebody actually put, those like waving things that you have like the air going through.
Oh, like at the haircut places?
Yeah, they had one of those in their chicken yard to keep like aerial attacks down.
Wow.
I thought that's really cool. And the chickens didn't seem to care at all. So I thought, wow, if you really have a problem with that, which Mom and Jeff do, that would be a cool way to keep your aerial attacks at bay. But then of course we have more of the ground roaming. We had a fox last year clean us out. We were left out of like the 36 we had. There was like 12 left.
Remember that?
Kind of stunk.
Do you remember that year where we lost, gosh, I don't even know how many, was that $10,000 in meat birds?
Like 200.
We had
200
meat birds that were beautiful, and we raised them. If you're new to chickens, I want you to look up something called the Plamondon hut. It's or the Plamondon chicken tractor. And in essence, it's you're building a frame, let's say a 2x6 treated frame that's 7 feet wide by 8 or 12 feet long. You build that frame, that picture frame, and then you take cattle panels like you use on the farm, and you bend them over, and then you use big fence staples, and you staple that thing down, and then you can cover that with chicken wire. You can put doors on the front and the back, and then you can put either a tarp or some visqueen, some plastic on top, and what you have is for the most part, a lightweight mobile chicken hut that you can either raise meat birds in, or you can raise your layers in and build some nesting boxes on the inside. I like those because you can build something like that for $150 or less, and you can move it around. And we have done everything from used them those style hoop huts for greenhouses, as chicken brooders, as chicken tractors for raising meat birds. We've used them for hog huts in the wintertime to stay warm. So they're a fantastic multi-purpose kind of a thing that you can get a lot of use out of for not a lot of money. And so I like those ones are probably
Other
my
than
favorite.
being a little heavy for
They can be
like
heavy.
me,
Right.
I'm only 5'3".
Yep.
And so they have to be built when you're bending those cattle panels. You've got to put enough wood underneath to keep them suspended in a spot. So they can get a little heavy in that aspect. But if you have something to move them with, boys or a quad or something like that, then those work out really well. For
there's so many
coop.
different. See, this is fun because now we get into that thing where it's like there's always more than one way to pluck the chicken. See what I did there?
Are you done with those tonight?
An actual chicken pun that fits. You can make these coops and brooders and whatever. The most thing is understanding
Pinterest
why these things work and what they actually need. Then you can kind of
and also what is your context? Do you have a lot of what you would think you might have predation? You need to keep them secure, safe.
Mm-hmm.
You are bringing them in. You need to make sure you're taking care of them to the best of your ability. So of course I couldn't have predicted a fox would smell chicken meals for a month and eat all my they usually
the predators know they know when you're gone for 2 days because it's like the normal sounds they hear aren't there. All the smells they want are.
Fox aren't afraid of us though.
They're not. We had 200 meat birds, and they were heritage breed birds. Each bird would have sold for right around probably $20 to $22 a piece, and we left for 2 days. And we had them in their day range scenario. We had electrified poultry netting as a perimeter.
Yeah.
Everything was hot and ready to go. They had plenty of food. Under every other time, they were totally fine. Not a single issue. Well, we got back and they were all dead. And I mean,
oh no, there was one.
Oh, there was
one survivor.
There was one that was living up in a tree.
Yeah.
That lived. But when you walk up to go check up on your birds after being gone for 2 days, and it looks like a battlefield, and there's nothing but just dead birds as far as you can see, missing heads, bites out of them, you name it. Well, we had some game cameras up, and we had cats, we had possums, we had raccoons, we had coyotes, we had fox. Everybody ate well at Nature's Image Farm. Except us. But we learned a lot because so that's just part of this learning experience. Sometimes you don't know what's out there, how bad it can get until they have an opportunity to do it. So if you can avoid learning those lessons, just be sure that your birds are in a situation where you can lock them in, you can keep them safe at nighttime. And if you live in an area where you do have hawks or a lot of bird pressure, maybe day range isn't for you. Maybe you do something like a coop and a run where you have a coop that you can get in and out of. You can feed them, water them, keep them clean. And they have a run. They can go out and do their express their full chickenness of the chicken that way.
Yeah.
And I like that because there's, it's kind of it's a happy compromise, I think, between those different things.
Yeah. And I think you can, even if you have a coop and a run and you want to let them have a little bit more yard space, you could do some electric netting and, give them a little bit more than that. That's what my mom and Jeff do is, they have that coop and the run, it's beautiful, but then they add on to that, so that that their birds can be moved a little bit more, through their yard and take care of that too, because they'll eat through some stuff that you'd like to get rid of.
So as much as you love those chickens and want to take advantage of the eggs or maybe the meat, well, guess what? So does everything else out there. So you have to protect them. You might have plenty of nights where you might be running out there with a shotgun or a 22 to take care of whatever that it is.
Feeding the neighborhood. Yes, it is a buffet.
And that's a tricky thing is we want to pretend that we are all for the balance and the cycle of life until it takes too much from you, and then it hits
the pocketbook, and then things get real, and you go, oh, let me check myself here.
But it's kind of a good excuse to get a red or a green varmint light for your rifle and go out there and do what needs to get done. So I guess there's that. So that's one of the risks is predators. The other risk, which it's valid. It happens. We have been very fortunate in the way that we raise our birds because they have so much area to range and get away from each other. We haven't had disease issues, but some folks do get into parasites and intestinal issues and mites and things like that. We don't have a lot of advice to give you for that, other than we make sure our water is always clean. And now every now and again we'll put apple cider vinegar in the water just to help with their gut biome and digestion. But give them just it's a lot of it can be cleanliness. It can also be paired with cleanliness and hot temperatures. Folks that raise chickens in hotter climates have things to deal with that maybe we don't so much up here in north where we're at.
Yeah. And I think like for us, how we deal with the potential of like mites or anything like that is in the bedding, at least, is we use DE, right? Is that what we use?
Diatomaceous earth. Yeah, we sure do. We put that in the bedding to help with mites. And then we also have it and use it for bees to make murder sauce.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking because the one I use is gray.
Right. We have two different types of DE that we have.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is the one I use for the chickens, and I was confusing myself. Ugh, it's not hard to do. Anyway, so yeah, we put that in with our pine shavings, and I do like the larger pine flakes because I feel like they absorb more.
I don't like the real fine ones. They make such a mess.
It does make a mess.
I like the flakes.
Now everybody's gonna have their preference, but for us and what we do, and it breaks down a little slower when I put it in our compost piles and stuff. I usually use it as like the base to if I'm gonna start a bed. It's like the very bottom before I add more layers and layers.
Deep litter method is something if you do it's in the winter time is great because you can just keep adding fresh bedding on top of the spent bedding. Until you get into about the spring of the year and you do a complete coop clean out. And then all of that can then go to the compost pile.
And our nesting boxes
or some folks will do it at fall time.
Yep.
And do a clean out, make sure everything's nice and clean. That goes into the compost to sit and to do its magic throughout the winter time. And then they'll start fresh again. And so fall and spring are nice times to get in there, clean up the coops or clean up any areas. We
usually do
litter.
3 times a season: spring, summer, and fall.
Yep.
By summer, we're cleaning it out pretty good, just because we always get rain. Like you'll get that coop all clean, and then we just used old recycled tin on the top of the coop that Greg built way back. Probably needs an overhaul, but that one used old recycled tin, and it was rusty and old when we put it on. 9 years ago. No, it was 8 because I was pregnant with the twins watching you build it.
Yep.
And so I think it's got some pinholes in that thing, and
we found some treasure piles here on the farm. We found some metal roofing that was probably from the 40s. That had a couple rust. It was some pinholes of rust.
It was it's good enough.
But we literally built this chicken coop for literally.
Almost nothing. It was scraps of wood. Yeah.
I had some rough cut lumber that we were building some projects with. That's all I really had in it. I had more in screws and nails and brackets and things like that than we did anything else.
Yep. And
that's the homestead way.
Yeah, we made it for nothing, and that was fine. It will probably need overhauled, but yeah, it's done its job, so it doesn't owe us anything.
No. So those are some of the risks of disease, predators. One thing to consider with chickens is that chickens molt, and they can molt twice a year, and so you're going to have a period of time where there's not going to be any eggs,
and it won't be a long period, but when they're refeathering, like when your dog is shedding everywhere because it's that season, spring, fall, winter, summer, whatever. Chickens do the same thing, and it's stressful. It is just a stressful time for them, and they will stop laying for a period of time. Hopefully you have them so that they're not all the same age. As you create cycles of getting new layers, because of either predation or just their aging. Chickens can lay eggs for 5 to 10 years if you don't have any extra inputs forcing them to lay consistently during their laying cycle.
Can they really lay that long?
Yes, they can. At least 5 years. I know Mom has some that lay that long. I would never keep a chicken that long, but she has.
Our chickens rest in the wintertime. We don't push them. You certainly can. You can, chickens only have a certain amount of eggs, it seems. And if you've ever butchered an old hen, it was actually really cool when you butcher a hen.
It was a nice science experiment for the kids
to see all the leftover, or all the little undeveloped tiny little orange eggs,
and they run through that oviduct from teeny tiny. It's pretty cool to see that. So they have full egg.
I think they do have a specific number of eggs in their lifetime.
They're born with, yes.
And then if you push them through the winter, you're just going to get shorter lifetime out of the chicken, or out of the hen, but you're going to maybe have more of those eggs. And some of the ways that folks do that is they'll make sure that they keep the coops maybe a little bit warmer. But the main thing is light. It's just like for all our beekeeping friends out there, just like our queen bees slow down and do very little through the wintertime until solstice, and it starts to slowly get more daylights per hour.
Yep.
Daylights per hour, hours of daylight per day. I'm more out today. Same thing with the chickens. They sense that, they know that, and they start ramping back up just like the queen bees do.
Yep.
So you can trick. I don't know if trick's the right word. You can.
Yeah, they can. It's kind of like the blue light in the winter if you deal with that seasonal from lacking of sunlight. Chickens lack sun, they're dealing with the same thing in the winter, and they will not lay eggs in the winter when there's lack of sunlight. When you're getting less than 12 hours, they need more than 12 hours of sunlight to lay, and that's okay because it gives them a break.
Mm-hmm.
It allows that spring molt to be a little less stressful on them because they're kind of taking that winter break. And then as soon as winter solstice is over and we start to pick up the daylight hours, as we start to add those minutes, you'll start seeing them pick back up and lay those eggs again. And so we allow them that break. And I do a couple of different preservation methods to ensure that we have some sort of eggs. Now this year, not so much, but
average hen will lay about 530 eggs throughout her lifetime. It seems like after about 3 years, they really just become nearly freeloaders.
Yeah. And then, it just depends. I mean,
you're just feeding manure makers, which isn't a bad thing. But we usually have a cleanup party where when we're butchering our meat birds, all the old hens and extra roosters will kind of do all that at once. And that's just a way to keep everything. We can talk a lot about some of the ins and the outs. But just getting started raising chickens, I think we fit a lot of the big things. You're either going to order them from a catalog, a website, or you're going to go to your local feed store to buy them. You're going to bring them home. You're going to get them into a brooder where you're going to keep them warm, 95 degrees or so, until they start to feather out. Once they feather out, you get them into their coop of whatever type you build or buy, where they need somewhere to roost. You got to have fresh food and water. Protect them from predators, keep everything healthy and happy and clean, and have less issues with disease and things like that. Keep them safe and closed up at nighttime. That'll help keep the predators at bay, knowing that when you see birds that look bald, like their backs look bald, they're missing all their feathers.
Yeah, they get ugly.
They get ugly during molt. During those times of molting, they're freshening up those feathers, or freshening themselves up, and so they're not going to be laying eggs during those time periods. In the winter time, they're going to slow down and lay very, very little, except if you it takes chickens up to they until they mature at around 5 months before they start laying eggs. So you go through all this effort to get chicks started off to a good start, but it takes not until they're about 5 months old do they actually start laying eggs. So one of the fun things to do is to time that to where the chickens are just coming into laying in like October.
So yeah, in our spring chickens, we always usually try to raise a spring and a fall batch of laying hens.
Yeah.
I try to time it to where I'm doing it when I'm doing meat birds because it's just easier to have them all at once. As far as the chicks go, I don't have a bunch of stuff on my front porch all year long.
Yeah, not right now at least.
But that's nice to time that like that. But just know that if you're getting birds, chicks in the spring, you're not going to have eggs until fall or almost winter. And then they're going to go through that lack of light time. So maybe they won't lay a ton, even though they're supposed to be laying, they're not going to lay a ton in the winter, but they will pick back up hot and heavy and in a hurry to get those eggs out of there and get started for you as soon as they get the sunlight back again.
So those are just some kind of the intro.
Steve said, do we water glass? Yes, I do water glass.
What in the world is water glassing?
It's just a preservation method so that we can keep eggs. I usually use them for cooking, like things that you're not like scrambled eggs.
There's also ways that you can preserve eggs outside of hard boiling.
Freezing.
You
can freeze eggs. You can, if you have a, what's that thing called? What's that thing called?
I don't know what this very expensive thing is that you want to on the homestead.
Yeah.
Definitely not a freeze dryer.
Yeah. So if you freeze dry your eggs, I don't know, I don't know anything about it, but I've heard that if you freeze dry eggs, they come out like fresh, like scrambled eggs, but I wouldn't know how that goes. So
maybe we can ask Santa Claus next year. So chickens, yes. Can you do it? You 100% can. I think what's great about raising a flock of chickens is no matter how big your backyard is, you can do it. And you can do it in a way to where you're finding it's bringing so much joy and happiness to your life. It's also bringing health and nutrition. It's teaching kids responsibility.
Yes.
It's forming some of these life lessons really early on. You know, it doesn't go without risks. There is some very minimal risk with it, but a lot of folks can do a really good job at it. But just know that chickens are 100% a gateway drug to everything else, possibly including, but not limited to, goats. And just do yourself a favor.
You gotta really love goats to get into that. And it's totally
goats
fine.
Are, but
4-H, I mean,
cute,
they're fun for 4-H.
And they can be like having a pet dog, and they can be
really
really great.
They can follow you around just like a dog.
Just the thing about my trouble with goats.
People have pet pigs too.
I'm not saying I'm a control freak, but most farmers and homesteaders, their absolute number one fear is those critters getting on the road or being on the wrong side of the fence. And when it comes to goats, if you can throw a bucket of water through the fence, it won't hold a goat.
Yeah. Goats are a different ball game.
I actually, the goats, that's a story for another day, but we ran a multi-species grazing kind of a situation where we had the cows and the goats and the chickens and the lambs together, and it was a hot mess. It was cool, and it did the land a lot of good. But boy, those goats were just something. We'll just say the goats were really, really special. Well, before we cut loose tonight,
hold on, we got it. Yes, I just wanted to. We've done both drop time. We've done free choice feeding, and we dish it out daily. It depends on the season. During really, really wet seasons, that feed will actually
let's
ferment.
Put the question up there.
Yeah, the feed will actually ferment. So the
question is, do y'all feed free choice or dish it out daily?
Yeah, we've done both, and it just depends on the season. If we're in a really wet season, our feeder actually will let it ferment and get all nasty, so we don't use it depending on the season. Yep.
We have some honey shout outs. We did some honey shout outs on the last one. Let's not forget to talk
about Craig. He did if you look at his channel, you can see Craig Midget he actually put an egg. Oh, I'm losing all my words tonight, and I wasn't the one working outside. Anyway, check out Spring Haven Homestead, and he has some really cool ideas for brooding boxes for his hens to lay eggs in.
Cool.
It was really cool.
We had some honey shout outs last week, and we
found
had an entire bucket of honey from the Hive Life Conference that folks gave us that we just now found. And so we want to make sure that we shout those folks out too. We've got the Lindsay Homestead, Jeremy Lindsay. Danridge, Tennessee. Look at this beautiful. It's what's called white honey, clear honey. Look at that. It's very, very light in color. I'm definitely looking forward to tasting that one. So Jeremy Lindsay, thanks, buddy. That one looks great. We've got Woodstock honey from Rushville, Illinois. Of Crazy AZ's honey, Huddletown, Virginia. That's neat. Look at that. I like that one. That's cool. And then we've got Sourwood Branch Bee Farm. In, let's see, I'm slow to read. Sourwood Branch Bee, Valentine's, Virginia. That's a nice bottle. Isn't that cool?
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm. And then we've got Tootsie's Backyard Bees, Raw Honey, Pinson, Alabama. That's a neat label. I like that. So I want to make sure we got our honey shout outs out.
Yes.
We were just talking at the shop today that we're getting everything framed out for. One of the things that we're going to make sure we do is have just a really, really fantastic honey display, so we can make sure that all the folks who send us honey, they can go right up on display. So anyone who comes and visits, they can come see all the honey from across the country. I think that's a really, really cool thing. But we could spend all night talking about chickens and everything else, but we would just kind of wanted to crack the surface a little bit on raising chickens for eggs. I think we've covered, all the points that I think make sense for us. The last thing I think that I want to ask you is, what are your favorite chicken breeds?
Oh, well, as a kid, I always liked the Barred Rocks, and we had Rhode Island Reds, and I don't even remember there being like Americanas and stuff like that when I was a kid. But now, especially with little kids, and it's like Easter eggs. So Easter eggers or Americanas, the blue, the greens. I just like having a rainbow of eggs, quite frankly, because I think they're fun. So anything that can add variety to the doll, is fun. So I like the Rhode Islands, the Barred Rock, the Americanas, Easter eggers, whatever you want to call them. I'm thinking of the Well Summers.
Yep.
What are the all black ones?
Black Australorps.
Australorps.
Those are some of the best layers with the Australorps. They always did really good. Roosters, on the other hand, sometimes those Rhode Island Red roosters can be a little spicy. We have my favorite ones, I think, are the mutts, where we ended up having some Easter eggers get up with some Barred Rocks that got up with some. They're just.
But when you incubate yourself, because we have an incubator,
right.
An egg incubator, so we, roosters don't care who they're fertilizing, so make some fun varieties.
I think if I could only have one chicken breed out there, I think for me, 100% it'd be Barred Rocks. I love the way they look. I love their personality.
I like the Well Summer for color.
And the Well Summer
Well Summers are pretty.
I think if you look at the old Cornflakes rooster, I think that's a Well Summer.
I think
where
so
it's
too.
kind of that rosy brown red into the green and all that kind of thing. But boy, there's so much to talk about birds, guinea hens and turkeys and
the
ducks
birds and the bees.
And man, we could just go
forever.
We could go forever. But anyways, I hope tonight you like this kind of a different approach. We love talking about bees, but there's so many other things on the farms that we get into.
And look how many people keep bees and also keep chickens. You guys are awesome.
Everyone is awesome. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Let us know what you want to hear next. What are some topics that you're interested in us hearing about? Like we mentioned earlier, we raise a large family. We homeschool here on the farm. We raise bees. We raise, of course, we have our chickens. We have our cats, but we run the sawmill, and occasionally we'll tap maple trees, and it's just all the things. And we just love them all. Love talking to them about it. And of course, Michelle. She's Michelle Irwin. It was great to met her at the Hive Life conference. That was cool. Raising pigs, that is definitely going to be one that we can speak to. And we've got a lot of hard lessons learned too, but raising pigs is definitely one of the most rewarding things, especially if it's something that you want to do as far as butchering, is extremely rewarding too. So we could talk a lot about raising and butchering pigs. That's a
years
great
and years
thing too.
of experience
Yep.
there.
Yep. So looks like already looks like some of the votes here.
Maple syrup. Okay, we've done that.
Maple syrup is to see. It is Chris at Drop Time. I just found a bunch of classic video from a couple years ago. I'm going to put together
Oh man,
on maple tapping. My beard's bigger.
yeah.
I'm just goofier. But
That'd be fun.
It was a really fun, solid way.
I took that video for you.
Yes,
Not
you did.
so shabby.
Not so shabby at all. Any final thoughts, Susie, or anything else before we let these folks cut loose with the rest of their night?
I have to say, if you are frazzle dazzled about these egg prices and you want to change something, we say be the change and be the lighthouse that you want to see in this world. So let's remember, if you are upset about the prices of these eggs, go support a farmer. If you want to raise them on your own, that's fabulous. But if you don't have the means or the want to do it, support somebody that's doing it. Be that change. Stop buying them at the grocery store and support somebody that's doing it, because it's not free and it's not cheap and it does cost, and it's getting costlier to do it. So support somebody that's doing a good thing.
Yeah. Support local. You're never going to go wrong.
Nope.
When you support local,
You'll build a friend.
Whether that's buying local queens, NUCS, chicken, eggs, pork, beef, you name it. Building those local relationships are huge. Not only are you going to find local healthy produce and products and nutrition, but you're going to build some fantastic relationships that are going to just go and surpass anything you could ever imagine. Sometimes I think, God has put us all on this earth, and we have all these things that bring us together, just like bees are a conduit to the people. When you can support that local farmer, where you can look them in the eye, you can shake their hand, the family that you're helping to support. That's a big deal when you know where your food comes from, when you know who is bringing that to you and that family. That's a big deal.
Yep.
And from a large family on a small farm, I can tell you how much that means to us. So I'm going to thank all you folks for not only taking a little bit of time tonight to just hang out and talk about chickens, but I want to thank everyone who has supported us by ordering queens, package bees, NUCS, supplies, who have been here at the Learning Yard. You guys are making all this possible for us to live our dream, this large family homestead dream. We can't do it without you. And so I want to thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts for making that happen for our family. We're looking forward to talking about a lot of things as the year kind of goes out. But after this video is published and hits YouTube, drop us some comments. Help us get this message out there. Share it, like it. But let us know in those comments what you want to hear next. And if you're enjoying these chats, if this is something that you guys are finding value in and you're enjoying them, I think we're going to do them every Sunday night. And who knows what the topic is going to be. It could be just about anything. And so I want to thank you guys again. If you are looking for NUCS packages, queens, or supplies, we're taking orders right now for package bees, for our NUCS, and also our queens. And the orders are coming in nicely, and I want to thank you guys a lot for that too. Don't wait around too long. If you do want to place those orders, you can go to our website at naturesimagefarm.com. You can find our contact information. If you have any questions about anything, don't be shy. Get a hold of us. We're happy to help. That's what we're here to do. So on that note, I'm going to thank you again for spending some time with us, and I want to remind you to be the lighthouse
and be the change that you want to see in this world. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Good night, guys.